Legend Total War here, and today we're going to be dissecting the latest video from Creative Assembly, the Cathay versus Tzeentch battle. It's sort of like a bastion battle at one of the Great Bastion fort battles. So big thanks to Creative Assembly for sending this this video to me early, giving me a chance to watch over it a few times, pick up a few things. Probably didn't pick up everything because I really don't want to watch it 40 times or whatever, so you guys might pick up a few things that I missed, and if you did, pop it in the comments, or it could just have been something that I was just like didn't think was very important. Anyway, I've got a few points here that I want to talk over. I'm not going to be watching the entire thing because for the most part this video is just a giant trailer, and we'll get onto that in a little bit, but there are some somewhat interesting points that I want to address with this, and that's what we're doing. Now, if you haven't seen the video in its entirety and want to watch it before watching me kind of rip this to shreds, then I'll leave a link to the description to watch it on the Total War channel, and in the pinned comments, so you can do that first if you want to. All right, so I've made a few points, made a few like timestamps that I want to cover, and let's go to it. So the first one, it's just over here. This one's really minor, but I'll just address it really quick.
Armies in service to Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, have amassed at the Snake Gate, the Turtle Gate, and the Dragon Gate.
Okay, so the information that we've gathered there, and this is not much at all, but it's something, is that there is a Snake Gate, a Turtle Gate, and a Dragon Gate. Now, I suspected that there would be about 5 total gates across the Great Bastion, because they've said that the Warhammer 3 campaign map is about twice the size of the Vortex campaign, and the Great Bastion, in terms of how much land it should actually cover, would be more significant than the Gates of Ulthuan, and more significant than the passes, the fort battles for the Empire. So I would imagine there would actually be 5 battles. But if there's only 3, that actually kind of makes it difficult for demon forces to get in. Of course, Tzeentch can just jump straight over, unless, of course, the Bastion prevents them from doing that, but we've had no indication thus far about that. But yeah, that's the only thing we gather from that. The next thing is a couple of minutes into it, because the rest of this here is just like them fighting. It's just cinematics, and that's cool and everything if you want to watch that, but we can't, there's nothing to dissect there. It's just like, yeah, cool fights. Alright, so we'll go to this point here, and I'll talk about this next point.
Heart and order in the face of horrors untold. So in tune with the winds of magic are Cathay's wizard kind, that the mere presence of another user bolsters magical potency. This elemental mastery rings true for 2 wizards as it does for 10, making Cathay's magical prowess a thing of deadly wonderment.
Okay, so thing to note about this is that they told us, in many words, nothing. Because what they basically said is that wizards boost each other, and that, you know, if you've got 2 wizards, they make each other stronger. And if you've got 10 wizards, well, it does it even more so. Well, guess what? That is actually currently the case for all factions in Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 for all laws of magic, including the dwarves. Did you know that if you have more than 1 wizard in your army in any Total War Warhammer game, that you will have more winds of magic to use? Because what ends up happening is that through items, followers, and skill points, you get more winds of magic reserve. Your winds of magic can generate faster because they all draw from the same pool, and what you could do is have weaker spellcasters basically act as winds of magic batteries for better spellcasters. Like, for example, Teclis, if you got 19 wizards attached to his army, just hid them in a corner, just have them basically pop down arcane conduits, and just have him fly around and cast Flock of Doom endlessly, you would have about like 600 spells to cast, whereas if he came in by himself, he would only cast like 50 spells, you know, something like that. So they've told us a bunch of stuff here which absolutely means nothing, except for people that probably have never played Total War Warhammer 1 and 2, which I kind of feel like Warhammer 3 is selling primarily to people that have already played Warhammer 1 and 2, but, you know, what do I know? So yeah, with that information there, they basically told us nothing, which was cool. Alright, next bit, if we come to here.
Fate Weaver deploys a host of melee demons to soak up the limited pool of Miao Ying's ammunition. To aid in their approach, these foul demons possess a shield of magical energy that Cathay's desperate defenders must first shatter before the creature beneath can be wounded. The drums of war thunder, and the invasion begins. The approach is...
Okay, so one thing that they try to talk about there, only briefly, we don't have any real details about it, is that every single Tzeentch unit has a barrier. Now, I don't think this barrier counts as like a ward save or a like a missile resistance, but I think it's actually like a secondary pool of health. Otherwise, they would have just said every single character within the Tzeentch roster has physical resistance or whatever. It just would have been way simpler. So, as I watched over this battle, I did notice that when someone was getting shot or attacked, there was just like sometimes just like a bit of a barrier animation that would pop up. It didn't seem to do anything. Like they would get shot once by, you know, a Hellstorm rocket battery shot, and be killed by it. So it just seems like it's part of their health. And I kind of mentioned it before that it might be similar to how the Protoss work in StarCraft, but probably to a lesser extent. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like 50% of their health is barrier and 50% of their health is actual hit points. And also, does their barrier health regenerate really quickly, or does it not regenerate at all? Who knows? But we know that they do have a barrier. But if you do look at the video, you can see when they're being shot sometimes, you will notice that barrier does seem to activate. But apart from the actual details, this battle here told us nothing about it. Alright, so the next bit is... okay, just a little bit ahead. Over about here.
Battlefield for their ranged allies, making these warriors of Cathay fight all the harder in the name of their Dragon Emperor. But it's not enough. Miao Ying, sensing the impending fall of the outer wall, lends her magic and abilities to the fray. She casts Talons of Night.
Okay, so what we've got here is that sort of like the first visual effects of some of the spells that are going to be in Warhammer 3 from the new laws of magic. So Miao Ying, a lightning bender, she can cast... I'm just being silly there. She casts this, what was it called? Talon of Darkness? Let me just see it again.
Lends her magic and abilities to the fray. She casts Talons of Night to cover...
sorry, Talons of Night. Which is either a Vortex spell to dish out damage, or it's a debuff to give the enemy no line of sight, or to give her units extra like stalk so they can get away, sort of thing. Now, because they just show the animation, the fact that the spell is called Talons of Night doesn't tell us really anything about it. The only really reason that I kind of suspect it's actually a Vortex spell is based on the animation. If we have a look here and just have a look at how it begins and where they've actually cast it, if it was supposed to give some cover on her own units, she would have casted it on her own units. Whereas the units are coming in over here. This does look like a Vortex spell, especially considering it's like a stationary Vortex spell. Similar to how Katarin's Ice Wind, I can't remember all the names, the Ice Magic spell. I'll get familiar with them when I've actually got access to the game. I just don't have a database of that stuff available to me. But yeah, like a very large plague spell. We don't know if it's like how damaging it is. We don't know how much Winds of Magic it costs. We just know that it's called Talon of Darkness and it's part of her Law of Magic. But that's cool. That's cool. It's good to see that she's got some damage spells, but we'll see how it goes.
It's Talons of Night to cover the retreat of her archers and crossbowmen, and Wrath of the Storm to bolster the might.
Okay, and this is something that is really indicative that this is a trailer, not an actual battle. Because she cast this spell here, which I've already forgotten what it's called. Let me just move back.
Of our archers and crossbowmen, and Wrath of the Storm to bolt.
Wrath of the Storm. Okay, so what she's done there, and from a tactical point of view, like if we were to just dissect this battle from like good tactics, bad tactics, this is like stupid beyond belief, because she cast a buff spell on units that weren't in combat, which obviously for cinematic purposes is so that you can actually see what the animation of it, that's what they want to do. They don't want to tell you what the actual spell does, because it doesn't matter in this situation, you can't see any stats. But no player would cast a buff spell on a unit that isn't in combat, because these buff spells don't last very long at all, at least in Warhammer 2. So if it lasts between 15 and 50 seconds, and this unit isn't going to see combat within that time, you've just wasted your Winds of Magic, which, you know, they're clearly just, again, these are trailers. It's not battle footage, because it's not actual gameplay, because they're just showing what the animations of what this stuff is, which is totally fine, but just, I want to see some gameplay. Alright, so yeah, move on to that. Let's move on to Kairos Fateweaver. He casts some spells as well, just a bit ahead here.
Kairos Fateweaver instructs his minions to bring down the fortress gates. To ensure his own survival, he selfishly casts Oracle of Eternity to reinforce his resistance.
Okay, so what we've got here is Kairos Fateweaver standing in front of it, or flying in front of a tower, soaking up ammunition, and selfishly casting a spell to buff himself so that he doesn't take as much damage. Let me tell you something. This was the only thing that they did right in this battle, using your heroes to tank the artillery. He should have been moving side to side, so it was missing. Also, a thing to note is that these towers here aren't shooting arrows, they're actually shooting the Hellstorm rocket battery shots. So I imagine the towers are actually extremely powerful, just thing to note. And the spell that he cast was a buff spell, which we've seen before. Either gave him ward save, magic resistance. It'd be pretty funny when we find out what it actually does, if it's magic resistance and this is physical damage, meaning that it was actually stupid to cast it. We won't know until it actually begins. What they're doing here is, again, they're just showing animations. It's probably missile resistance, but again, I don't have the details on it.
And Gaze of Fate to counter Miao Ying's boost to her Jade Warrior's effectiveness.
Okay. So he follows up an actual good move with a really dumb move, because Miao Ying has wasted Winds of Magic by buffing a unit, and then he's wasted Winds of Magic by debuffing that unit. This unit isn't in combat, it's a melee unit. Why is it urgent to debuff this unit? But, you know, they're not doing that. They're showcasing the animation. That's fine. I'm just really triggered by bad tactics. Anyway, let's just move on. The next thing... So they basically showed off two spells from Miao Wing, oh my god, whatever, and Kairos Fateweaver. I'll get their names right eventually. And then we move on to here.
Cathay beyond the Bastion. But Miao Ying isn't done yet. She falls back, retreating to her barricades, where already crossbowmen and archers are docked to cover the exodus.
Just want to point out that if this is a fort battle, there is no exodus here. You have to fight to the death. You're not leaving. So that's generally speaking what an exodus is. It's a tactical withdrawal. An exodus would be your like entire people is moving away from here. So, you know, whatever.
Kairos's foresight makes him a hard beast to outmaneuver, and he didn't take the western path as Miao Ying had hoped he would.
Okay, so this is the big thing here, right? This is probably like the most bird's eye view that we'll actually see in this sort of battle here. So what's happened is that Creative Assembly is sort of playing as from the perspective of Cathay, I imagine, in this, and somebody fought this battle, right? And they've set up their defenses on the western side, and then the AI, in such an intelligent move, didn't move straight away to the west, and so the Creative Assembly player had to pack up the defenses at the west and move it over to east, where Kairos Fateweaver was actually attacking. Now, what they've done here is done some storytelling bullshit. So, where it's fine for the story to tell it this way, again, this is really the indication of this is a trailer, it's not gameplay, because they're painting a picture here. They're trying to tell a story, like Kairos Fateweaver saw in advance that this was going to happen. But the thing is, in reality, the AI, all of the AIs are going to behave pretty much the same. Like, the AI Kairos Fateweaver's actual tactical decision is not going to be any different from any other faction if they've got the same units. And I think what happened here is that, in this particular situation, is that the bulk of Kairos's units were actually positioned in the east right at the beginning, and that the weakest of their attackers was coming in through the west. So they set up in the west, knowing full well that they were going to have to move to the east just to tell the story. So this is sort of like Siege of Carthage stuff where, oh, look, cool trailer, but be warned, this does not indicate good AI, okay? This is just a trailer. I just really want to make that point clear here. Just be wary of that. The next thing, and this is really just like a cool tidbit, I suppose.
But not defeated, and Miao Ying has only a fraction of the brave men and women she began with. With little other choice, she calls upon her greatest of powers and transforms into her namesake, assuming her dragon form.
Oh, you're done for now. She's just summoned the Blue Eyes White Dragon. So, this was definitely cool. Looking at the size of Miao Ying, who I got the name right that time, in her dragon form, it seems like she's much bigger than the standard sort of dragons, but also, I think more importantly, is that her animation is also significantly different. We kind of already suspected from the previous trailer that that they would transform to and from their dragon form in the middle of battle. I'm just wondering if there's some sort of cost involved, because like if you take the only other character that can do that currently in Warhammer 2, actually there's two that can do it, Malice Darkblade and Tzeentch, if you're playing the Vortex, can do it as well. Once he transforms into Sarkhan, it's a one-way trip. You have to finish the battle in that form, but you kind of get the picture from here that these dragons can be in their human form, then transform into a dragon, and then go back into a human form. And I'm wondering if there's one kind of cost involved in that, or when they transform into their dragon, do they get all their health back? Now, I know that when they're in their dragon form, they can't cast any more spells, so there is a drawback to being in the dragon form. So, naturally, it would actually make more sense to totally stay in human form to begin with, cast your spells, and then go into dragon form, which is what they did here in this battle. So that's like tactical, yep, tick, I guess, if that is how it works. But yeah, there are definitely some questions that still need to be asked there. Ah, my bad. Purple Eyes White Dragon. So, AI is not actually all that good after all, huh? Well, we'll see. You know, again, they're painting a picture about this kind of stuff. So this is really to be told as a story, not as like a tactical genius battle. That's not really how Creative Assembly sell their games. It's really, they try to make it as cinematic as possible to draw in the wow factor, rather than the wow that was like genius sort of factor. That's just not. This is not their selling point, and that's totally fine. I get that. It's just that that's what I want. That's all. You know, they're not driving home the stuff that I want. So yeah, that's all the stuff that I really wanted to address with the video here. The other things is really just, I guess, a bit of an update about stuff with the marketing, about where my head is at with it. I'm probably going to start covering more of the blogs. I skipped the Cathay and Kislev blogs, and I think I regret it a little bit. I covered the Tzeentch one, and I really liked reading about that blog because I thought the Tzeentch mechanics were really good. I actually did like the Cathay mechanics, but I just didn't want to make videos about blogs and stuff. But it looks like that's what we're getting for a while now. Is there's going to be more trailers and blogs, because we've still got to see the pre-order faction, and we've got to see Nurgle and Slaanesh. So there's still a lot more still to come, and I guess if we're not going to be seeing any real gameplay anytime soon, well then they're kind of forcing my hand to actually cover the trailers. But I just want to make the point that this video here, when I first watched it, I felt nothing for it. I felt absolutely nothing. I'm super hyped to play Tzeentch, super hyped to play Cathay. I'm super hyped to play Total War Warhammer 3. I don't want to see any more trailers. You've already got me sold. What I'm curious about, because like I know from my point of view, but I'm curious about your point of view. You guys that are either on the fence about buying it or playing it, or not even getting it at all. What do you want to see? Do you want to see more trailers, especially with factions that have already had their campaign mechanics and already had like 4 trailers each by now? Do you want to see fewer trailers and more gameplay, or do you want to see more trailers? Because if you guys, the guys who are actually going to buy the game, if you want to see more trailers, then that's 100% what CA should be focusing on. But I'm just in the back of my head thinking there are way too many trailers. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, they could have made, with the amount of budget that they must have had for these trailers, they could have just made a Total War Warhammer 3 movie. You know, once this is all done and Warhammer 3 is out, what we should do is like get all of the trailers, put them together, and see how long it runs for. It'll probably run for something like 45 minutes worth of trailers, which is so ridiculous for a game that is essentially an expansion pack of an expansion pack. Which, again, I'm not having a dig at Warhammer for that, because I think the business model for that totally worked. But yeah, I am so fatigued on trailers, and I just want to see some gameplay. We're getting just breadcrumbs here and there, and I'm just so hungry for more. And I think that comes across a little bit negative. I don't want to seem like, Warhammer 3 is shit. I have no confidence in this at all. I have a lot of confidence in Warhammer 3. I'm so sick of the marketing, though. I don't want to see any more fucking trailers. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to know where your head's at, because your opinions on this matter is actually way more important than mine, because I'm just one person, and you guys will shape what Creative Assembly should be doing. I'm just not sure what that is. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time, fuckers. Bye.